let me look at the second graph because I think my whatever I had to work with wasn't good. If you look at these two lines, even though I know you did it over here, but I don't know if they crossed in a nice enough part here. Let me blow this way up. If you were asked to give the slope of both of those lines, let's look at this one first. Let's say it, I believe, was probably supposed to cross here and probably supposed to cross here. What is the slope of that line? How many up, how many over? Somebody, just yell it out when you know the answer. Negative 3 over 2, right? And what, say I did this one here and made this triangle out of here. What's the slope of that line? 5. If you did yours, I'm hoping, against hope, that somehow these lines cross somewhere. Well, here's a point where it crossed, and it probably was supposed to cross here too. I don't know. What is that? 3 over 2. And then probably it was supposed to cross here, and see, that didn't work out well. Is there some place where it does cross? No, here and here. And what's that? 3 over 2. The point being this, children, here's the first point. See if you can finish this sentence that I'm going to give you. Parallel lines have, anybody? Ooh, who said that? Wow, that's a same slope. That is what you need to glean from first point here. Parallel lines have the same slope. So when you're writing equations of lines, for example, let's say my top line here. If I was writing the equation of that line, y equals mx plus b, the top line, you with me there? First of all, I know it crosses the y-axis at 1, so I'm going to put my plus 1 there. Everybody's good. What is the slope of that line? Well, it looks like it crosses here and it crosses there, so my slope is, looks like 1 over 4. Is anybody arguing with me on that? Does that look like right for that first line? Yes, Mr. Hahn. Your incredible knowledge and depth of intelligence completely astounds me. If you know that, people, if you know that, then it's really easy to write the equation of the second line. Why? Because the only thing that's going to be different about line 1 and line 2 is where it crosses the y-axis. So line number 2 is going to be y equals, it's the same slope because it's a parallel line, it just crosses the y-axis right there. It looks like negative 1.5. Same slope. Going to have the same number in front of x. Now, along the same lines, but just a little bit more complicated here. Let's see. Does anybody know what's going to be the answer to this one? Because this time we're talking perpendicular lines. If, hopefully, again, if my Microsoft Word was really not built for doing this. If I'm doing the slope of these two lines, let's say it looks like this first line, I can get this right here. Which this line here is what? Looks like negative 1/2 slope. The second line, I believe, was supposed to look like this, which is a positive 2 over 1 slope. This one over here, yours might have been different because maybe. If I look at this line here, it looks like it crosses here and crosses here, which is a what? Negative 1/3. And if I look at this one right here, it crosses here and crosses here, looks like a 3 over 1 slope. Here we go. Let's see if Grace Christ has this in her. Perpendicular lines. Somebody want to tell me? Have what's that? Degree angle. Yeah, you have to be careful with the word opposite because in math, opposite just means goes from negative to positive. I mean, the opposite of 5 is negative 5. So you have to go one step further. Not only is it opposite, but it is What's it called when you flip a fraction over?
Reciprocal.
Reciprocal. Perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slope. Perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slope. So again, going back to my little line right here, which apparently doesn't cross the y-axis. If I were writing the equation of that line, y equals mx plus b, crosses here at, let's just call that 1 1/3. Crosses at 4/3. What is the slope of Mr. Line here? It goes from here to, it doesn't go from here. It goes from here to here. So the slope of this line is what? 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1, or just 4. So what is the equation of the other line if you know that it is perpendicular? Wait, I just did the wrong line, didn't I? That's this line. So if these are perpendicular, what's the equation of this line? Y equals, what's the opposite reciprocal slope of that? Yes, negative 1/4 x, and it crosses the y-axis. This was wrong, right? Let's say this crossed at 7 plus 4/3. Everybody good with that? Now that's not, I'm sorry, 4/3. That's not the whole spiel, but I'm going to give you this so that you can, so that we can do 1 or 2 of these things here. You still have to do the bottom of this worksheet. So don't look at it and say I don't understand. Yeah. You can say I don't understand after. I got something to do. Never before. Oh, I should have put this one on here. So, let's take a quick gander here. Problem number 1 on your thing there. You're supposed to find the slope of the line parallel. Your problem number 1 said y equals negative 8x minus 3. What would be the slope of a line that is parallel to this line? I know it's going to be really hard, super hard. Parallel lines have the same slope. What's going to be the slope of the other line that's parallel to it? Brianna, would you say? Yes, negative 8. If it's a parallel line, whatever the number is in front of the x is going to be the same slope of the new line. Doesn't matter what it is. Now, not to be misconstrued by problem number 8 on your little sheet there, notice these are perpendicular lines. And number 8 says y equals negative 4/5 x plus 5. If a line is perpendicular to that, what will its slope be? Going back and looking at your notes that say it has opposite reciprocal slope. The opposite and the reciprocal of negative 4/5. Jaden is, yeah, just 5 over 4. It doesn't get any easier than that. Do you see that? Hip hip. Now, here we go. Problem number 13. This is what's going to take a little bit more time. Problem number 13 has these numbers for you. X, comma 6, and negative 4, comma 2, and the slope is 1/3. This is almost completely unrelated. What do the directions say? Find the value of x or y so that the line has the given slope. Now, one might want to draw that, but one's not going to. In other words, they give you almost everything you need to know. They give you the slope of the line, they give you one point on the line, and they have this other point, but you're missing the x value of that. You are going to have to, in order to do this, use the slope formula. And if you look back in your slope formula, what was it? M equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1, yes? Do you remember that vividly from times before? Stop, rewind, anybody struggling with that? So the first thing you're going to have to do, ladies and gentlemen, again, is make sure you define your x's and y's. In other words, do this. This is x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2, just so you keep them straight. And then you need to fill in the blanks. Now, here's what we didn't know before. You know what the letter m is, do you not? I know what the slope of the line is, do I not? It is 1/3. So for the letter m, you are going to put in 1/3. And that has to equal, let's put our parentheses here. Filling in all the blanks, y sub 2 is 2, y sub 1 is 6, x sub 2 is -4, and x sub 1 is the one I don't know, so that ends up being the letter. Stop me if you didn't catch on to that. I just plugged in all the information I know in my little formulae. Guess what I do now? We'll do a little simplifying what we can. The only thing you can do is put these two together. Do I have enough room to rewrite this down here? I do. So here we go. 1/3 equals, what's 2 minus 6? -4. And on the bottom I get -4 minus x. Anybody, how am I going to solve that? Maybe. Proportions, ratios, equal fractions, how do I solve it? Wow, it's quite a class we got working on here. Cross products, which means you are going to take this times this instead of equal to this times this. Make absolutely sure, children, this one doesn't really matter because it's a 1 there, but if it wasn't a 1 and something else, this would make a huge difference. When you multiply 1 times this, you have to put this in parentheses. 1 times a -4 minus x. 1 times that. And that has to equal 3 times -4. Distributive property, and again, because it's a 1, it doesn't matter in this case, but in other cases it's going to matter. -4 minus x equals -12. Right? Solving for x, I add 4. I add 4 to -12, I get -8. If negative x equals -8, what does x equal? Somebody? +8. Or x sub 1 is +8. And that's what would go whatever I was looking for. +8 would go here. That's what I solved for. Is that exciting or what? Mrs. Stone?
Sorry, this is all up in your desk. I was wondering what happened to it.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I mean, I get it, because they had to set up for lunch service and I wasn't here last Tuesday.
that's, yeah, that, well,
That's,
yeah.
it's my apologies.
I don't know most of the stuff that's put on my desk anyway. Let's do another one because I can tell you're absolutely, which one would, let's pick a hard one to do. Let's do problem number 19. -2, 3, x -8. And what is my slope? My slope is 11/4. Slowly but surely following the directions. The first thing I'm going to do is make sure I define these so I know, keep them straight. X sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. Write down my formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. At any point you can stop me and say, why did you do that? Filling in the blanks. I know what my slope is, so I put that in for the letter M. 11/4 equals, again, I like to put these parentheses in. I find it just keeps my life that much better. y2, -8. y1, 3. x2, I don't know. x1, -2. Stop, hold, anybody where I got those numbers? No, you can't plead the Fifth Amendment. Now, simplifying, I still have 11 over 4. That equals -8 minus 3 is -11. X minus a -2 is actually x plus 2, right? Negative. And then here is where we need to do cross products, which means I always like to put my x on the left side. So I'm going to do 11 times x plus 2. That needs to go in parentheses. And that equals 4 times a -11. Distributive property 11x plus 22 equals -44. Subtract 22, -66. Divide by 11. To me, x equals -6. Anybody? Questioning at best. All right, let's try one. I'm going to give you the chance to show your infinite wisdom on your own. Josh Shelton, pick a number that we have not done. I believe we've done 13 and 19. So your choice is 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, or 20. 16. 16 says Josh. Right now, right where you're at. Do for me, please. Number 16. Following these short yet concise steps of solving such equations. Now, I would highly recommend, as always, there's a little bit of calculating to be done here, which doesn't always bode well for small spaces. Just saying. Some of you think you're more than capable of doing stuff, but I would certainly do it on a large piece of paper where my thoughts don't get unorganized. Number 16 just because. 2 comma 6 and -5. All in of a slope of 6. See how far we get. Imagine by the end of March we'll be writing each memory verse 40 times. On a positive note. You good, Jason? Good? Smoke. That's an impressive sort of act. So, easy? Work out? Generally speaking, if these work out, you probably did it right. If you got some sort of a fraction, then we could be in trouble. Slope was 2. Oh, slope was 2. Yep. That would be correct. That would make a difference. slightly blank look on your faces that you're almost all done. Hopefully yours ended up looking like this so far. Again, you could flip-flop these and make these the sub 1s and those the sub 2s. It isn't going to matter again, but this is the way I choose to do it. When you simplify, you end up with 2 over 1 equals y minus 6 over negative 5 and a negative 2, I believe is negative 7. I did that right. Doing the cross products things, 1 times that, I will put it in parentheses, although it's not going to matter, equals 2 times negative 7, which is a negative 14. 1 times all that is y minus 6. Add 6, add 6. Y, I believe, actually equals negative 8. Yeah? Everybody get negative 8? Really? I'm all about that then. Perfect. Then